We are back. Another edition of the All 32 Pod. Mike Giardi with Will Parkinson alongside. As always, it is mock draft season time of the year, and my first came out for Boston Sports Journal. This is Monday, March 24th, 5:09 in the afternoon. We're taping this, so we are going to sort of review that and see what Will thinks about some of the picks and how they might fit, or if he thinks I'm absolutely out of my mind with some of the things that I decided to do. Again, talking to people in the league. I'm not just pulling stuff out my butt, at least most of the time. A reminder that this show is brought to you by PrizePicks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network, and Game Time, best tickets, best prices to get you in to see any event you want to see. So let's get right to it. We're not going to comment on every single pick, but Will's going to sort of pick and choose which ones we like. Let's just start with the top five. Cam Ward, number 1 overall to Tennessee. I think we've talked about that quite a bit. Travis Hunter going number 2 to Cleveland. You could make the case for Shedeur Sanders. I put Hunter here. At number 3, Shedeur Sanders for the New York Football Giants. At number 4, the Patriots, who are in desperate need of offense, choose edge Abdul Carter. And at 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars choose Mason Graham. What stands out to you there?
What stands out is I would have had the same 5. The only thing I would have changed, and I don't know if Patriots fans will like this, maybe some will, some won't. I wonder if the Patriots get to that spot. The first 3 picks to me feel like chalk. I mean, the Giants going in with Jameis in a must-win year. We talked about it. It's funny they signed him a couple hours after the pod, but like he's at best the guy of like, hey, you don't have to start Shedeur day 1. Browns, I feel like Travis Hunter's the best player in the class by all accounts, by pretty much anyone you ask. Makes sense. You know, they got to sell tickets, got to sell jerseys. I think they reset at quarterback in the following year. The Patriots are on the board at 4. Carter, Graham, all the guys that they may want, all the tackles. I wonder if Carolina calls them, and Carolina, maybe it's New Orleans. Is it Chicago? Chicago to me makes the most sense, and that's if I'm the Patriots. That's where I'd like to play, just because the Bears have those 4 top 75 picks. Hey, you want to come from 10 to 4? You get your premier edge rusher. Your team's pretty damn good. We'll still end up with a tackle or receiver or an edge rusher if we want at 10. We probably end up with in total having 5 or 6 top 75 picks. That's how you fix the roster right overnight. That's the one that, to me, Mike, you did no trades. So I know that's kind of a caveat here. If they go straight chalk here, you take Abdul Carter and you don't think twice. I understand that. Understand tackle's a problem. Understand receiver's a problem. All those things are fair. He's, if at worst, the second best player in the class. And listen, man, all due respect to Harold Landry at this point in his career, Abdul Carter's, I'd argue outside of Gonzalez, is he not your best player on defense?
You're hoping Milton Williams would be, right? But yeah,
the defense is going to be good. But Vrabel getting to have a chess piece like Carter and Gonzalez to build his defense around, in addition to a Milton Williams and all these other guys, but cornerstone edge, cornerstone corner for the Patriots of that top 4 would be. I don't know that if you thought, Mike, we're here March 24th. If I asked you 2 weeks ago, is there any shot he doesn't go in the top 3? I don't know if there was. And now it feels like 4 to 5 is the range he finds himself in.
Yeah, it's interesting. So when I wrote this up, I said, is it odd that I don't love the pick, even if I think Carter is one of the true blue chippers in the draft, and it's him and Hunter as far as I'm concerned. And then I think there's a tier slightly below them. But why would I feel that way? It's because the offense is still bereft of talent, right? And you would love to draft a difference-making wide receiver, or more importantly, I think for them, get the left tackle, plug and play, and we don't have to think about that position for 10 years. I mean, they've been thinking about that position since the end of Nate Solder's run. And Nate Solder was by no stretch of the imagination this awesome player. But with the Patriots, he was a average left tackle who at points was maybe above average. And I think they decided to move on at the right time. The Giants would probably agree after what they went through with him. But this draft doesn't have that. So when you look at their roster, yes, the ideal thing, and we'll get to this in later mock drafts that I do, doing one a week here pretty much till the draft goes on, is trade back, accumulate more assets, and give yourself more swings, more dart throws, whatever you want to call it, but more chances to make an impact on a roster that, as I've said a million times, you should turn over 20 to 25 guys in this roster without any question. I don't know if you can do it in one off season, but that's how I would operate. But then if you're stuck there in this situation, or stuck, no one wants to trade up, or you don't find the price good enough, and Carter's sitting there, that's a hard thing to say no to, because even if he is just an average run defender, if he is an elite pass rusher, and a lot of people feel like he's an elite pass rusher, and you can get 12 to 16 sacks a year, pick the 12 to 50, whatever the number is, like, they haven't had a guy like that. I wrote it. They haven't had a guy like that since Andre Tippett. Okay, we're talking 80s football. They've had good players at the edge, but they've never had that guy year in, year out, each of those numbers. And this guy has that ceiling on him, and he's a different cat. We've talked about it, right? They're going to have to feel comfortable with who he is off the field. There's the whole tow truck driver thing. If you want to Google it, it's a little fracas there, whatever. Like, and there's other stuff in terms of personality wise, but if they're comfortable with that, man, it's a no brainer. That's super talented football player.
Yeah. I look at it from the Patriots perspective, and like, I've said this a million times, and I'll continue to say this. I'll say this about the Jets. I say this about a bunch of these teams. Like, the Patriots are not in a win now mode. They need to be competitive next year. There's no damn question about that. They cannot be sitting there picking top 3, but isn't it really just about stacking this roster for as good as possible to make a run in 26? And I know no one really wants to hear like, "Ooh, I play for the future,"
right?
But this is like I feel like this is an aim to like competitive football in 25 and go for it in 26. Because if Drake's the guy in 25 and you're like, "We got him," and the roster is good enough, you'll have the space, you'll have the flexibility to do these different things. You have the draft, like it all will line up for you with the coach. So. Again, I'd probably trade back here from them just because I feel like this is Patriots fans. I feel like in my mentions for the last 3 months have been saying like either, tackle or trade back, receive, whatever. This would be a difficult one, but I think the old Belichick mode, which actually I think would apply here. And Vrabel, obviously, again, he's not Belichick, but certainly obviously grew up under him as a player, in the prime of his career. Like this is the Bears get their guy and we get 3 guys we think can contribute. So that's kind of where I would sit with things.
Let's go to the next chunk of players here from 6 to 10. I went Ashton Genty, 6 overall to Vegas, 7 Tyler Warren to the Jets, 8 Jalen Walker, the linebacker edge hybrid to Carolina, 9 Tet McMillan. I might do that over again if I had a chance. And 10 Chicago with Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia. We should start, obviously, here at 7 with Tyler Warren. I texted you while I was doing this because we've been conversing, and I know you're talking to people with the Jets, and I've been talking to people around the league, and there's been some push for tackle here. Membu's name has come up. There has been some recent buzz for Jackson Dart, which seems incredibly rich. And I just looked at it and said, look, you got a running quarterback who you still hope can develop as a passer. You have Tyler Warren. You have Breece Hall. Give your quarterback that security blanket. And this guy is not just he's not just a receiving tight end. This is not Colston Loveland. This is not the Travis Kelce. This is the guy that you can run behind. The Penn State Nittany Lions ran behind him a ton, and just say, like, if we're going to put the ball on the ground a little bit more this year, well, we got the best blocking tight end, or one of the best two-way tight ends in this league, in Tyler Warren. And again, like, I think the chance of him failing in this league are very slim. Like, he, to me, is one of the highest floor guys in the entire first round.
Yeah, I think it comes down to 3 players, I think, at this point for the Jets. I would expand it to 5, but I don't feel like I've moved off the 5 guys I think are most realistic for them at 7. Warren, Membu, Graham, Walker, and Stewart. And if they want to go edge, they want to go, I've seen some Giardi Barron stuff at 7 too. That feels both rich for a player perspective and also makes no sense for them. I mean, if you're going to play him at safety as a deep third safety, like, sure. But Warren makes the most sense to me, at least as I sit here right now. I think what he also does is he allows you to get a tackle in round 2 or 3, pair him with Corafor and Mitchell and Warren, and hope one of those guys can win a battle in camp of the 4. Warren, you can use to chip a bunch. You can use multiple personnel packages to kind of help that right tackle out. But they need, with a Justin Fields, you need a playmaker in the pass game that's going to be, an over the middle type of guy. And Warren Wilson Hall is a pretty nice combo to have as your core group going forward. And then you kind of add, other pieces around it. They'll probably add a guy in the second or third round of receiver. So I like the pick there for you that you made. I think Graham, there's been some talk about him at 5. It's like how far will he drop stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he gets past 5. I just
that's
what everyone I asked. Jacksonville loves him. It's a no-brainer. The one pick, Mike, and I don't want to kind of like go backwards here, but I would be curious if New England stayed there and took Membu or Campbell or whoever, and Carter falls to 5. Like, what do you do if you're Jacksonville? You probably are trying to trade out there. Like, how far does he start to fall? Because he shouldn't. I'm just saying, like, Jacksonville just took Trayvon Walker 1. They took Josh Hines Allen 7 and paid him. Like, you don't really need another edge rusher. That's actually one of their better spots on the roster. So, 8, you had Jalen Walker. I think that makes a ton of sense. I think Shamar Stewart's another name there that could be there. He's a different player, obviously, but they need pass rush help in the worst way. If Warren falls to 9, I think New Orleans has little to no excuse to not take him. And you go Warren and Juwan Johnson. You run a ton of 12 personnel. You protect Derek Carr, who mostly stinks, but it's
right.
You're locked in now,
at
least for another year, and before you draft Garrett Nussmeier, who's we obviously, it's worst kept secret in football at the moment. But yeah, no, I think, and the pick you went DB with the Bears. I actually would have gone DB as well. I would have gone Will Johnson there. I would have said, if his foot's right and he runs decent, Johnson and Johnson is your 2 corners. And you become this like, hey, our pass rush isn't elite, but our defense is going to fly around. We have really good linebackers. We got great guys in the back end. We're going to suffocate you in a division where Minnesota's going to want to throw the heck out of the football. You got to cover number 2s in that division more than pretty much any other division of football. So I like where your head's at and pretty much everywhere you went with position-wise. I know Tet didn't run as bad as we thought. I still think a hand timed 4.56 is hilarious because it's really like a 4.62, which is kind of in line with what everyone was like, oh, he's kind of a high 4.5s, low 4.6s guy. New Orleans is just the interesting team of all that group because they have a million needs. I don't know what the future holds for them, but at the same time, like if they went corner there, would you be shocked? If they went Jay Barron or if they went, they went to Will
Johnson. They
Johnson.
Go tackle there. They literally have
a million things. They're the hardest to figure out, I think, of that, that 5-pick group.
One of the reasons I decided, I've heard, obviously, again, this isn't just me closing my eyes or whatever, because of the Chris Olave stuff, and the Olave has had at least 5 concussions, I believe. Obviously missed the back half of last year, a good chunk. Does not enjoy playing with Derek Carr, which, whatever. Derek Carr's probably not going to be there after this year anyway. But McMillan, everyone views him as an X. And I think you talk to more people who are like, he struggles to get off press. And he did a lot of his work at Arizona in the slot. And I'm just wondering if there is this sort of, you're talking about if Tyler Warren gets there and they have the 2 tight ends and you're protecting him in that way. Obviously, Tet's not a blocker, but you're sort of lining up tighter formations. He's a 50-50 ball guy. Like, get it out quick, let him handle it that way. I don't know. It's an interesting fit. And he's one of those guys. You want to talk about, you mentioned Will Johnson, who I'd sliding all the way down. Well, we'll get to him in the back half of the first round. But Tet's someone who could slide. Like, there's a point when you start looking at the board, you're going, they probably wouldn't want him. No, they wouldn't want him. I haven't heard anything about. No, they don't like him. Like, you just start to go on and be like, ooh, he could slip slide away. Before we get to the next 5, we should hear from PrizePicks because PrizePicks is tremendous and had a nice Şengün LaMelo Ball duo yesterday. Laid down $16, 148. Hey, just saying. And that's as simple as it is here. Daily Fantasy Sports. They're bringing it to the people. You start with 2 players. You can go up to 6. Win up to 100 times your money. All you got to do is choose more or less. I've talked about it all the time. You can cross sports here. Your baseball's coming up. You got baseball. You got hockey. You got the NBA. LeBron's back. He's back. Do you think more or less on his point total? They're playing Orlando as we're taping this thing on Monday. Does he have a breakout game in his second game back from the groin strain? Easy for you to get involved here. All you got to do is download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get 50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Speaking of running, by the way, did you see Xavier Restrepo, who was at the Senior Bowl, ran a 4.8340 at the Miami Pro Day?
I would just say this.
His tape is good.
I heard people. I don't
tough.
think teams had. There was teams that didn't even have like day 3 grades on them, and then I see him on every big board in the top 50, and I think he's a good kid. He works extremely hard. He'll be a fun player in the league. He'll be effective. Like, that's just slot guys that are tough as nails and smart and gritty, and like those guys do really well in the league. Like, they just do. But when I started seeing second round stuff, I'm like, dude, that's not at all what I have like.
Yeah.
He's not a great athlete. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, he's a smart kid. He feels zone coverage. He knows how to settle in zones. Like, he's a smart, tough as nails. He is a day 3 to me, 6th, 7th round. This is Braxton Berrios. Like,
it's the same thing. It's like Berrios had great speed, not the same level of a receiver, but it's the same concept. It's just like these guys like that, like they're not going to go as high as you think they are. And it doesn't mean they're not good players. It's just the way the league works. Like, it's like I saw someone like prepare for Jihad Campbell to fall. Oh, and everyone will be like, he's a great value pick. Like, he's a linebacker. So that's what happens. Like, I don't know, like, why are we like pretending like this stuff is like new?
Yeah, no. Well, like, we do this every year. We do this every single year.
What gets in the league?
And then we're like, wait, they drafted the really good athlete who's maybe his tape isn't as awesome as it should be, but he's a freaking freak.
Who's going to draft Shamar Stewart? I don't know, man. Like, I just did this 2 years ago, Trayvon Walker, and he just puts up double-digit sacks, and Shamar, I think, is a much more coordinated athlete. So, hey, it's like, this is what happens. Like, it happens once. You need one gritty white slot receiver to like make it so every gritty white slot receiver, goes to the Patriots. Like, that's just the way it works.
Yep. All right, let's get to the next selection of picks here. I go Will Campbell at 11 to the San Francisco 49ers. At 12, Matthew Golden, the receiver from Texas, goes to Dallas. At 13, Armand Membu, which feels a little bit like he fell too far, but okay. 14, Colston Loveland, the tight end from Michigan, goes to Indianapolis. And at 15, speaking of Campbell, I have him here, the linebacker / edge out of Alabama, going to Raheem Morris and the Falcons. What jumps out to you there?
So I'm inclined to flip Membu and Campbell, but fair. I think that's
especially by the way, because San Francisco, McKivitz.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
I just feel like they're going to go athlete over, like, that's just what they'll do. The Cowboys are a really interesting one. If I'm them, this to me is the Shamar Stewart team. Just lost Tank Lawrence. That feels like my comp's either been Jadeveon Clowney or Tank, where it's like going to be an elite run defender. Some years you'll have 10 sacks. Some years it'll be 4. Everybody around him is going to eat. Makes everyone's life around him better. Like, that feels like Golden's the fun pick and probably the one that gets people the most excited. Stewart feels like we need somebody to like take some attention off of Michael Parsons. The Colston Loveland pick feels like a layup. Then I say that, but like, this happens every year with the Colts, and we always like they're going to get this tight end, the Dallas Clark, and it's like that's probably his comp. But like, it almost feels too easy, like that it won't happen.
Well, it's like the Genti pick at 6. Vegas, is that a luxury pick for Vegas? Probably, but is he the best player sitting there for them? And the way Pete wants to play, you be physical, run the ball. That's his Marshawn Lynch. You're just,
they feel like a team that should take Jahdae Barron. They won't. I assume they'll take Loveland, but their defense like isn't good. And I don't know if that's just like a Gus Bradley.
They spent on Travarius Ward, right? I mean, they could.
They're spending on the defense like this. Yep. Like you brought in 2 new corners. Like, why not just totally like they're going to lose Julian Blackmon? Like, just I don't know. I feel like be elite in that category. I like the Campbell pick at 15. I like what you've done here. I just, like I said, Stewart to me at 12 feels like the smarter pick as a team building wise, but it's the Cowboys, and
look, they've done a great.
They keep Jackson Dart there. Jerry's just off his rocker.
Speaking of which, Jeremy Fowler with the of ESPN with the Cowboys might be interested in trading for Joe Milton. The Joe Milton,
why?
His agent is doing some of God's work to try to get Milton's name out in the ether and get him out of New England and get him in a place where and the Cowboys
this is pretty harsh, Mike, and people are not going to like this.
Why
is he rushing to get out of there? Drake had multiple concussions last year.
There are people here that will tell you. There are people here that will tell you, like, don't do it. Like, develop the kid.
Why would you? That's
bring him through preseason. And if someone gets hurt in preseason and someone wants to blow you away, second round pick, then you say, Joe, thank you. We appreciate it.
I feel about Atlanta too. These young guys who showed a lot of flashes. Like, don't you want to have a stable backup at least? Look, Joe Milton also played one effing game. Like, I don't know what we're doing here, but
they're doing what fan bases always do. Like, someone showed out in week 18 against a JV team.
We did a Mike White Hall of Fame thing.
Yes,
and he threw 2 picks in the game. Like, it is what it is. But no, I just, to me, that I like this group of. This is where the draft is going to get fun because you can make an argument for 5-6 different guys at these different spots.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go to 16 through 20. Giardi Barron, the corner to Arizona. Mike Green, the edge rusher from Marshall to Cincinnati. Donovan
Ezeraku is, I think.
Thank you. And you know what? I was just at the BC Pro Day. We talked to him. Great kid. Enjoyed speaking with him. I have him going to Seattle at 18. Michael Williams, big edge from Georgia, going to Tampa Bay at 19. And Omarion Hampton at 20, the running back from North Carolina, going to Denver. This is where the first place, I think, in the draft, with the people that I've talked to, I got so many different names thrown at me about who likes who. And this is a little behind the curtain type situation. A lot of times you'll hear like, oh, the Patriots like so-and-so. The Patriots generally, or whoever, insert team, they're usually not the ones saying that. You're talking to other teams who are trying to gauge what's happening around them, and that's where you usually find the information. So here I am trying to gauge different information, talking to some of those teams as well, but like who, where, what, when, why. And I feel like, especially in that 17, 18, 19 range, if you flipped all 3 of those picks, one guy going to one place, one guy going to another. And then there's, of course, the Mike Green question about the off-field stuff. Again, 2 reports of sexual assault. Neither did he get charged for, one in high school, one in his first stop in college. He even talked about it at the scouting combine, which usually that's
usually questions on that one.
So anyway, teams are going to have to feel comfortable that was all whatever, and he's a player. But as I'm sitting there looking at it, going, they desperately need someone across from Trey Hendrickson. They're still making the effort to get Trey done right. You get Trey on one side, Mike Green on the other. That's a handful. But you could also tell me it's Ezeraku. You could tell me it's Williams. Like, there's a path there for a bunch of different players to sort of go where the Bengals need to go, which is clearly defense.
Yeah, the only argument I would make is they probably could go corner there too. Mm-hmm. Is that a Will Johnson team? Other than that, like, I don't really have much. You could flip Michael and Ezeraku. Is Ezeraku a better fit for Tampa and Michael a better fit for Seattle? Like, you could do, one or the other. I think the placement of the players makes sense. I don't have much of a disagreement there.
What do you think about Hampton at 20? Denver has obviously.
I like it. He's going to go back to the UNC well and hope that they don't get hurt like that.
Right. I mean, that's a killer, right? Javonte before the injury that year was just looked phenomenal. And
he was so fun, but I would have said tight end. I still think if Loveland's there, I think they still do it. I know they signed Ingram, but let's be honest, Evan Ingram's going to pull a hamstring and have a big drop, and Sean Payton's going to jettison him at some point. That's just we've watched 8 years of it. It's 10 years at this point of it. Yeah. I think offense is the pick there for them. They've invested a lot in their defense, and it's still the guys. Some of the guys are paying. Yeah, could they? I don't know. Could they go if a Barron fell and they want to play him at safety, could they, if, Malachi Starks falls and they say, hey, we want to, just keep building up the defense. But like that, sure, that's maybe, but Omari Hampton, I think, is a first round pick. And
Nicky Manwari from from
yeah,
South Carolina,
I think that's another one too. That's like,
is he a safety? Is he a linebacker? I don't know, but we're just going to put him in
I don't know,
advanced
but he's a
defense
good
and let him
player.
rate. Yeah. I mean, that was he. Newsflash: he's not in my first round, only because I still have a hard time with the tape versus the testing.
Yep.
But probably in a future mock draft, the more we get closer, like his name will come back up again.
Listen, it's what happens. Like there's only 32 spots. I think people forget when you're doing these mock drafts, like there's only a certain amount of spots, right? Like
we come out of Senior Bowl, the bowl season in general, the college football playoffs, Senior Bowl Shrine Game, and there's probably 100 guys that get mentioned in that window of time as first round picks. Like I don't know, they got 7 first rounders on defense, and you're like, no, they got 2. But like that's just that time of year where everybody gets the bump, and then it sort of falls back to what was the evaluation of the tape, right? And as long as the kid's not a jerk and comes across well in interviews, then the tape is what stands, and that's how it ends up playing. Let's go from 21 to 25. The third quarterback, Jackson Dart, Pittsburgh Steelers at 21 from Ole Miss. 22, Kenneth Grant, the defensive lineman from Michigan, reunited with Harbaugh. I've got Shamar Stewart, the beastly edge from Texas A&M, going to the Green Bay Packers. At 24, here's Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan, going to the Minnesota Vikings. And at 25, Josh Simmons, the left tackle from Ohio State, who obviously had the torn patellar tendon in October. All signs are go. The medicals apparently came back good at the combine, and he's still, I guess, on track to do his own sort of individual testing day sometime before the draft. Let's just speak to Will Johnson real quick here, because Will obviously had the injury, didn't finish the season, did not test at the combine. Some people think Will's going to be slow. Slow, I don't know what slow means to them. If that's a 4.55, which is, that's kind of slow for a corner. But you look at his 23 tape versus because last year before he got hurt was a little inconsistent. His 23 tape is awesome. Physical, has a knack for the football. And so I just look at a Flores defense and say, okay, we we'll play some zone behind some of the stuff we do up front, but we can also get physical. He can get in your face, and we can make up for it because we're going to make the quarterback get rid of the ball in 2 seconds. Like, this guy's a baller. And I love that fit. I don't know if he gets that far. Like I said, depending on how he runs, like if he runs a 4.45, stick him in the top 15, and that's that. But if he doesn't run, or if there's still questions about it, I feel like Minnesota's a great spot.
Yeah, it's the turf toe and the whole thing. I think there was a lot of like, what was it? What's going on? I hate to be boring here. I don't know if I have much. The way that the Texans have operated this offseason, if you told me they went with like Tyler Booker for no reason and just like kept stacking guards that are like not that athletic, I wouldn't be shocked. I got to be honest with you, and this is a bigger conversation we'll have. I have no idea what they're doing on the offensive line. I don't.
It's very confusing. They're trying to give themselves options,
which is great. That's always a smart thing. But
Cam Robinson, Trent Brown.
You have 2 quarterbacks. You have 5 offensive tackles. Do you have any?
Right.
I love Lincoln Tomlinson, friend of the pod, like great guy. Has not been very good since he left San Francisco. Yeah. Trent Brown, barely ever on the field. And when he is on the field, I'm not really sure what you're getting. I think I've mentioned this a billion times. Like, sure, Josh Simmons, I think, is the most talented tackle in the draft. I think that if he was fully healthy, he would be a top 5 pick. I don't know if he's fully healthy because I haven't seen him work out since he tore his patellar tendon, which is usually a horrifying injury for players, let alone for offensive linemen. So, like, that would be the smart pick is like, hey, let's bet on the upside. If this guy can be healthy, we have our franchise left tackle. We Tunsil for Simmons, like we're ready to roll. But if you told me they went Banks or Zabel or one of these guys that's a little more like low risk, I could see it. they have to. I think they got to draft at least 2 or 3 offensive linemen in this draft.
I would agree. Well, it's funny when I did the write up for each team. When I put Simmons there, I said Caserio and their staff is going to have to be, their medical staff is obviously going to have to be comfortable with where he is at with the knee. And then, as we've talked about, again, nothing egregious off the field, but like difficult is a word I've heard. So like, okay, are you comfortable with not only the medicals, but the personality? If you are, then that's a no-brainer pick. If you're not, and there may be teams that are just like, nope, patellar tendon, we're just not doing that, and he's off our board, or we put a 3rd round grade on him because of it, then they could easily just look at Banks, who, again, Texas guy, so they've seen him up close and personal, and just say, there it is. We put him in there, and if he's a guard, he's a guard, but we'll start him out at left tackle and see if he can do that at the NFL level. Again, he's another one of those guys that doesn't have the ideal arm length for the prototype left tackle. But like Will Campbell, played left tackle in a premier conference and did it very well for a number of years. So, but I'm definitely with you on like, you just got to keep throwing. They got to figure out the offensive line. And I'm totally befuddled by what's happened so far.
I don't know. They'll be fine, I'm sure. But like, I don't feel great at all about them. Like I'm inclined, if the Colts draft well, to pick the Colts next year. And I don't even have a good reason for you.
Right. You could be betting on Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones in that spot.
Yeah, but like knowing the way that they operate, Steichen operates with like these guys that like shouldn't be good.
Right.
Like they'll be 9-8, and like I don't know, like they're not that good. But for some reason, the Texans feel very hit or miss right now. The Jaguars, I have absolutely no idea.
Right.
I truly don't. And it's not like they might be the best team in the division. Like there's a good possibility they are.
Or Liam Cohen might not be able to coach. Trevor Lawrence might just be a mid quarterback.
They have a lot of fun like social media clips as a GM and a head coach, but I don't know. I haven't seen anything yet. So like I don't, you know what I mean? Like I just don't know.
Yeah. You got to show me.
Yeah, show me something.
You got to show me before I actually decide that, you're in it.
The Patriots had Christian Gonzalez and Drake May fall into their laps in consecutive first rounds. But could lightning really strike a 3rd time and provide one or both of these young blue chip players dynamic partner for the long term? Today, I'm breaking down cornerback / wide receiver Travis Hunter, whether or not he should be a lock for the Patriots if he falls to the 4th overall pick, and where exactly he should spend most of his time if he ultimately lands up in New England. Hunter played a nearly even split of corner and receiver during his junior year at Colorado, totaling 776 snaps on defense and 753 snaps on offense, according to PFF. Hunter ranked top 5 among FBS prospects in this draft with 96 receptions, 1,258 receiving yards, and 15 receiving touchdowns in 2024. Hunter excelled on vertical routes like goes and posts, where he adjusted to errant throws and was unaffected by contact or traffic. His 14 deep catches and 6 touchdowns were top 3 among FBS prospects, and he didn't record a single drop on targets of 20 or more air yards. Hunter also showed excellent ball tracking and downright arrogant hands, and both were on display on this highlight against Cincinnati. Hunter's press defender tries disrupting him early with a jam, but he isn't disrupted and shoots past the corner to win deep. The go ball is underthrown, but despite being clotheslined while trying to adjust, Hunter shows incredible focus to complete the catch for an and 1 along the sideline. With Colorado facing an improbable 3rd and 12, Hunter gets a target on a shallow crosser with room to work underneath. He quickly snatches a pass against his momentum and burns 2 bad angles from BYU defenders. He then sets up a closing linebacker for a juke, pulls away from a safety, and races down the field before ultimately throwing a stiff arm and heading out of bounds. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to become a member of Patriots Press Pass on YouTube to get full access to videos like this and much more really fun content. I cannot wait for you to see it.
Let's just rip through the last chunk here from 26 to 32. We brought up Kelvin Banks before I did that ad read. Kelvin Banks, the tackle of Texas, going to the LA Rams. At 27, guard Tyler Booker from Alabama going to the Baltimore Ravens. At 28, Gray Zabel, he's listed as a tackle, but he's an interior center guard, North Dakota State going to the Detroit Lions. Washington Commanders will take cornerback Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky. At 30, I'm not going to say his name right, and I heard someone pronounce it, Siobhan Razel.
Yeah.
You get it? Revel.
Yeah.
Cornerback, East Carolina, going to the Buffalo Bills. At 31, Josh Connolly, the tackle from Oregon, going to the Kansas City Chiefs. And at 32 for the Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl champs, Ohio State wide receiver Emeka Egbuka. What do you have?
The Lions, I feel like could go defense here, but they also I saw Bryce Huff potentially there. It depends on Aiden Hutchinson.
I would like that for Bryce Huff.
I would like that
Detroit
fit
Lions
quite a bit. The Booker one makes sense. I think Banks makes a lot of sense, especially if you kick him into guard. Maybe they go Booker there instead, or they're a Zabel team. Like you could kind of interchange those three guys.
Yep.
Harrison, Ravel. I think Benjamin Morrison's better than all those guys. But
Fair.
I have no idea on the medical. Like I have not, and everyone says he's good that I asked, but like I don't have the MRIs. So
I still haven't. We talked about this a few times ago. Like someone reported he's coming off his second surgery, and
I don't know what
no one can tell me whether the second surgery was after the one that happened this year.
The McCarthy thing. It's like, was it cleanup? Was it
right? Or did he have a surgery on this years ago, and then this thing came up again? And so I don't know the answer to that. And that would, I think, also, look, they're getting the medicals. The teams know, and eventually we'll find out too. That's not unfair. He's a really good football player. When I look at,
I just wonder if Detroit's going to play a ton of man. Do they go and say, hey, like,
they lost Carlton Davis, but they bring in DJ Reed.
Oh, yeah, I guess they brought in Reed, yeah. I guess then you're overdoing it in the first round. I don't know if you need
one of the reasons why, and I've heard this from other people around the league talking about sort of Detroit is, they built that offensive line's 30 plus. Like, is Frank Ragnow, how many more years does he have left at a high level?
Yeah, and you'd rather be a year too early with too many guys than a year too late, right?
Yep.
Like, the one thing I was going to say is Egbuka at 18 feels like the one spot. I know they have JSN, and I know it's probably a repeat pick.
Yep.
Golden Falls, I feel like he's a lock to be a Seahawk. If he doesn't, do they still go Egbuka there? Do they go Tet? Like, if one of those receivers is there at 18, do the Seahawks get
they're a weirdly constructed team because
a million slot guys?
Right. So what's your plan there? Because someone was crunching the numbers. I was listening to, I think it was Nate Tice. He was talking about, who does a terrific pod, Football 301, I believe it's called. Yeah. I don't know the titles of these things, but Nate does a good pod. I like listening to Nate. And he was talking about like, oh, well, this makes sense when they signed Kupp. He's like, this makes sense because they must think that JSN played well outside. And then he crunched the numbers and he's like, JSN's fine outside. JSN did his best work inside. Kupp is clearly an inside player who's gotten like all his metrics, even like his time, his like playing speed, like everything is like he's an inside player. They signed MVS. So yeah, he can be the guy who runs people
Golden
off.
Would be a perfect fit there to be like the stretch the field guy. Or do they wait to round 2 and do they go Io Maynard? Do they go with like are they the Jaden Higgins team? Right. Like they need a field stretcher to open up underneath and be able to, because if they want to sit in like 10 personnel all game and just like throw the ball around, which I'm sure if I would advise that, but sure, if that's what they want to do, like you could, whatever you want to go 4 wide and just like spread teams out and have Kupp and JSN operate over the middle of the field, like with MVS and Golden outside, like I could think of worse things to do. I also think when your pass protection is not very good, and you have a quarterback who needs to be able to be like settled in the pocket, not sure, but no, the Eagles one's interesting. Like they're usually a year ahead.
Yep.
I wonder if they're sitting there going, AJ's a loose cannon and like I can't trade him now financially, and we don't really want to. Obviously, like to keep him, but I wonder if they go, hey, like wouldn't mind having some protection in case he goes off the rails here, or he's injured or whatever, and like we can kind of, basically like I like the thinking of just getting ahead. The one other one that'll be interesting with them. At one point, they went all defense last year. You mentioned receiver. They're not going to go running back. They can't. Right. I guess they can do whatever they want. I wonder if they're an offensive line team. I know, like, I understand they're fine right now, but eventually it's like you kind of always waiting for the shoe to drop, and it never seems to drop for them. I just wonder, like, are they a team that's like, hey, we're gonna draft another guy that's gonna sit like we did with Landon Dickerson, and like they're like a machine. The one other one I want to mention before we wrap here, and you can kind of give your final thoughts. The Chiefs are interesting. They need offensive line, but if they take a right tackle, it's one of the places they have a starter at the moment. Do they overreach for a left tackle? Do they just draft the best offensive lineman and play Tetris? Do they ignore it in round one and say, like, we're going to go draft Emeka Egbuka, or we're going to draft, I don't know, Elijah Arroyo, and he's going to replace Travis. You know what I mean? Like, they're an interesting team because we've talked about it a million times, but like, it seems obvious. Or are they a defensive tackle team, right? Are they like, we're going to draft Tyleik Williams here at the end of the first round, which wouldn't hate it at all. Like, and Chris Jones is getting older. He's still a great player, but we want to free him up. And we've lost these guys. Like, they're just, those two teams, because they're so good, it's hard to figure out for them where like, are they a year early on a position, or are they going need, or are they just like, F it.
That's the best player. We're just taking him. We don't care.
I don't care. Like, I don't care.
It's a fascinating thing. And, having covered the Patriots all those years when they didn't forfeit their picks for stupid things, and trade back, they love to trade back and trade out of the first round. But like, you'd sit there and be like, well, what do they need? And like, like, it wasn't like their rosters were
everything and nothing at the same time.
Yeah. Right. You're like, you could pick 6 different positions and I wouldn't be like, you want to pick a defensive tackle, pick a defensive tackle. Like, oh, you already have some, but you're just like, yeah, but we're not going to pay this guy. And we're just going to bring him in. He's going to be a rotational piece. And then when we move on from this guy, he slides right in and fills the role. I mean, I remember when they drafted Ty Warren at defensive end, and they were pretty well set up. And you're like, why are they drafting Ty Warren at 13 overall, which has been their highest pick in eons, right? And it was like, oh, because he's just really good. And you just put him in there, and for 6-7 years or whatever it was, like, he was a rock solid football player for you. And you're just like, this is how we want to play. And this is what we're going to do. So when you're Andy Reid, when you're Howie Roseman in Philly, and you're Brett Veach in Kansas City, when you're just trying to figure out what you want to do, it's like, you have so much more open to you because the roster is generally in really good shape. Now, Kansas City is getting a little older, right? And there's a couple spots where you could say, hey, could they be a corner team, right? They missed L'Jarius Sneed last year. Yeah. Played McDuffie on the outside.
Yeah,
they did a great job.
Benjamin Morrison team will let them kind of quick, slow
could
roll.
Be. Yep, could absolutely be. If one of the Hairston, one of the Hairston Revel guys, if they fell that one extra spot. Now he's coming off the torn ACL, which happened in September. So probably not going to be ready for the start of camp. You're probably slow playing him, and you're probably not seeing the best of that guy until.
Yeah, but then it's going to be, Mike, it's going to be the Bengals Chiefs in week 15, and you're going to be like, how does this guy have 2 picks? Like,
Bingo.
What's going on?
Yep, that's the kind of thing that you can do when you're one of those teams, and you can just say it. And I look at Buffalo and say, who's a difference maker for you defensively? You have Benford on one side, who, by the way, because the money's going up for these corners, he's probably sitting there going, I know I was a 6th-round pick from Villanova, but I've become your guy. You just traded away the first rounder.
They might want to get that done earlier. That's what they've been doing.
Yep.
We'll talk about this in future episodes. I know we got to wrap here, but I know it's been good business to pay your own guys.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of Shakir, like, did you have to extend any? You know what I mean? Like, it's like you don't want to beat them up for doing what's smart business, but I also feel like some of those guys got paid, and you're like, I don't know if I would have. I don't know if they needed to pay $20 million a year for.
Rousseau is one that kind of pops up to me where it's like he's.
Is it like the Ed Oliver thing where it's like you're a good player, but like
he's above average, but he's not. He hasn't been a difference maker. Like they've continued to have to look for, whether it was acquiring Von Miller in free agency. Now they do with Joey Bosa. Like they're just looking for someone who can close games for them.
It's like if you guys not a closer, I know he's a homegrown guy, but like sometimes it's like, hey, maybe it's like we do they're good for us for a certain amount of time. And it's like, and then they're not. Right. And I don't know. I'm not beating them up about it. Like it's good business. It's a way to manipulate the cap and the whole thing. But like, I don't know. I just felt like they've paid a lot of guys. I'm not sure many of them are necessary to do.
So I was at St. John's, wherever they have their camp.
St. John Fisher, yeah.
Thank you. And I saw him doing drills in front of me, like, whatever. Like I've been to, obviously I've covered their games or whatever, but he was like literally like 5 yards away from me, and I was like, no human should be built like that guy is. He is a freaking like forget about it. Like he's huge, ripped, long arms. Like he should be, just based on his physical stature, he should be awesome. He's good. He hasn't been awesome yet. I think they're hoping that he takes that next step, but it feels like, is it ever going to happen, or is this just who he is? And again, no shame to be who he is. He's a damn good football player.
Again,
and somebody else probably would have paid him.
Yeah.
But you're not. I don't think offensive coordinators, when they're game planning for the Bills, go, well, just if we don't block Rousseau, we're screwed. If we don't have a plan for Rousseau, we're screwed.
That's why for the Jets, like I'm not rushing to pay Jermaine Johnson. I want to see what the Achilles looks like, but also good player.
Right.
Not paying him $30 million a year,
right.
like our own price. And maybe they felt like Rousseau, $20 million was our cutoff, and that's what we'll do. And that's fine. That's good business. But like I said, I just felt like a defense that I don't think is particularly awesome anymore. And it's like, oh, we got to extend all these guys. It's like, I don't know.
Right.
Like it just was like a curious,
It also could be like, I'm just trying to like, it is, we're spitballing. It's like, is Bean just in his head like, hey, look, we're in the window right now. I mean, you're going to be in the window with Josh, as long as Josh is awesome. But our off, Deion Dawkins is around 30. Like you're a little older on the offensive line, a couple spots. Like, are we just, let's keep with this group, add a couple pieces and hope that we can finally break through, get to the other side and win a Super Bowl. But they've definitely had to do some operating on their cap in terms of how they've managed the football team over the last couple seasons. All right, that's gonna put wrap on this edition of the All 32 pod. I almost forgot the name of our own pod. Here's Will Parkinson. I'm Mike Giardi. Reminder to like, listen, subscribe, rate, review, do all those things. Tell your people to tell their people and to get involved. Subscribe. Just do it. It's simple. We're just bringing you good football talk. We're just trying to enjoy ourselves here, talk a little football with you. We will be back at the end of the week. But for now, that's it for All 32.